Welcome back to the Lava Academy podcast, your monthly dive into the world of volcanoes, lava, and the forces that shape our planet. We're a team of lava enthusiasts based in Reykjavik, Iceland, part of the crew behind Lava Show, the world's first live lava show where we remelt real lava and pour it out in front of a live audience. But this podcast is where we go deeper into the science, the stories, and the people behind the eruptions. Each month we'll bring you interviews with a range of guests, from leading geologists and volcanologists to locals who've witnessed eruptions up close. We'll cover everything from the science of how volcanoes work and the tectonic forces shaping Iceland, to the ongoing activity on the Reykjanes Peninsula, historic eruptions, and the ways in which volcanic events impact people and communities. So whether you are a curious listener, a science enthusiast, or someone who just thinks lava is cool, and it is, then this is the podcast for you. Welcome back to the Lava Academy podcast. I am your host, Ian MacKinnon, a former primary school teacher from Scotland, now living in Reykjavik and playing with lava for a living. And I am once again joined by my faithful co-host, Ragnhildur Ágústsdóttir.
Hello, hello.
Back again, back in the saddle.
Yes. Good to be back.
Yes.
It's always so much fun.
So much fun, particularly when you have exciting and interesting guests. And boy, have we got an exciting and interesting guest this week.
Yes.
Cannot wait to share this one with you.
Yeah.
So a bit of a volcanic celebrity in a way.
It is.
Yeah.
And, every single Icelander has seen this person's face and voice numerous times.
Yeah.
And there's a good reason for it.
Yes. So let's find out what that reason is and who that guest is by heading over there right now. All right, so we are joined today by our special guest, who is Kristín Jónsdóttir, who is the head of, now let me get this right, the Department of Volcanoes, Earthquakes and Deformation Measurements at the Icelandic Met Office.
Excellent.
Welcome, Kristín.
Thank you.
So why don't you tell us, first of all, just a little bit about yourself, your background, and what it is you actually do.
Yeah. So I studied geophysics in Iceland at the university. And then I did my PhD in earthquake seismology, more specifically maybe in volcano seismology. And I was studying Katla.
Okay.
Katla volcano.
My favorite volcano.
Yeah. So I was, before I did my PhD, I was working at the Met Office. And the Icelandic Met Office is responsible for doing the whole range of natural hazard monitoring. So I was working in the kind of earthquake and volcano monitoring unit. And I found it so interesting. So I just finished my bachelor and I was there kind of going through earthquakes. And I thought it was so interesting that the earthquakes in Katla, they looked very different from the other earthquakes. And when I started to ask the more senior people, like, why is it like that? We're like, it's just always been like that. We don't really know. And I got so intrigued by this and I kind of understood, okay, like with only having a bachelor's degree at this workplace, I'm not going to get very far. So I need to, study more.
Push it further, yeah.
So I was really lucky to get the opportunity to have a PhD and moreover, to focus on the intriguing question, what's going on in Katla. So I was very lucky in that sense. So when I finished my PhD, there was so this was in 2009. And the situation in Iceland wasn't very great at that time, just after the economic
crash.
So I was like, okay, what do we do now? And I was with my family in Sweden, and my husband, he got a job in Vienna, in Austria. So we moved to Austria, and I got a postdoc position in Ireland. So I was commuting between Vienna and Ireland for a couple of years. And I was kind of continuing my studies on kind of low frequency and tremor-like unusual seismicity. So that has been kind of focus until 2013, when I moved back to Iceland and I got a position at the Icelandic Met Office, coordinating the efforts of volcano and seismology kind of monitoring. And my position has been kind of evolving since then. And I was, for a while, I was leading the team that's doing the 24/7 monitoring. But currently I'm the head of the geoscience department, let's say. That's kind of it, that is all about kind of the senior scientists supporting the volcano monitoring, with both kind of responding quickly, but also with the kind of long-term monitoring, doing long-term hazard assessment for different areas in Iceland. And of course, Reykjanes is now in the focus.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've become, I would say, a bit of a star in Iceland since, the Reykjanes Peninsula started erupting again. It's been frequent TV presence and also like radio interviews and just whenever something happens, it feels like you're sort of the go-to person.
Yeah, I mean, we're maybe not too many that kind of fall in that category of the press is kind of repeatedly coming to us, and I think people find it a little bit refreshing to have a woman also.
Yeah.
So it's been quite male dominated up until a few years ago. So yeah. What can I do?
Good on you. And you're doing it well. So
thank you.
Yeah, and you hit on it there actually a little bit about the role of the Met Office here, because it is quite different to a lot of other places in the world. I mean, I was always interested in weather and stuff. I come from a sort of geography background, and weather was something that I was always really interested in. And so when I think Met Office, I'm just thinking about the weather. And it's probably true of most other people as well. But the role of the Met Office in Iceland is actually much wider than that. Can you tell us just a little bit about what that involves?
Yeah. And I find it so interesting, and I don't know why, I think everybody should be doing the same as we do, because it's all interconnected. Yeah. So you have the weather is interfering with almost everything else. And of course,
especially in Iceland.
Especially in Iceland. I mean, it's so highly linked with avalanche risk, snow avalanche, like rockfall. If you have a lot of rain, you increase this the hazard of landslides. And if there is a landslide event, you will record it on the seismometers.
Yeah.
And even like slow deformation that you will see with unstable slopes, everything is connected. So to have one place where we're constantly talking with each other, that is really an asset, I would say.
From different scientific perspectives.
Yeah, exactly. And from a natural hazard perspective, but with all the different expertise kind of together in one room and in one office. And of course, I mean, we are only, what are we now, 380,000 people in Iceland. So it doesn't make sense to have a lot of, I mean, this is of course one of the reasons. Yeah. It doesn't make sense for us to be distributed in many different places. But I think it makes perfect sense to have one office with these different these different roles of monitoring, because it's so interconnected. And even one thing we are looking at and doing it automatically is to kind of go into the weather forecast and assess how is the weather going to influence the seismometers that measure kind of the earthquakes and the vibrations. Because when you have significant storms, they really influence and our network becomes less sensitive. So we have a system to kind of assess this. How much the weather is going to influence the seismometer. So and we do this with colors. So if there's an orange color for the next days for seismicity on Reykjanes, we know we are not going to be able to see the smallest earthquakes on Reykjanes because of the weather. So also in that sense, it's so important for the monitoring and especially from the volcano monitoring, where we need to respond very quickly.
Right.
To have different kinds of measurements,
Yes.
and also measurements that are kind of less reliant on good weather conditions.
Yeah. We'll probably talk a bit about that later
For sure.
on, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really curious, like, because the Icelandic Met Office is set up in this way, is it the only one, or are there other places where it's the same? And are you like spreading that sort of like, hey, maybe you should do that as well with
No, exactly.
your international peers?
I think in general, like when it comes to structure like this, it's so rigid and like it's very difficult to change. But I think definitely many people they envy us of these kind of short communication that we have. In Japan, I think it's the only place in the world where they have seismology and the Met Office kind of joined together. In New Zealand, they have actually very recently merged the Met Office with GNS, and GNS is kind of the earthquake and tsunami and volcano monitoring.
Right.
So they just did that, I think, last year.
Okay.
I don't know if that was because of Iceland or not. But
Well, let's just say that it
let's just
was.
say it is. Let's claim it.
And like one thing important I should mention also is that the Met Office has responsibilities towards aviation.
Yes.
So if there is ash in the atmosphere or the increased likelihood of ash in the atmosphere within the region that IMO, the Icelandic Met Office, is responsible for, we need to send out warnings. So to have this short communication between the volcano monitoring and the meteorologists on duty is really important. And I think this is one of the reasons why they have the same office, like in Japan, you have these short communication also.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, as a local, I just always figured that it was that way everywhere. I
Nope.
guess I was wrong.
You were.
But the naming, like the Met Office, like if you ask me, I would like to have
It should
another
have a different name. I
because
agree.
it is confusing.
Yeah. So my first experience of anything to do with the Icelandic Met Office was in the run up to the eruption at Fagradalsfjall in 2021. Seeing all the earthquakes, and my now wife, who was here at the time, I was back in Scotland, she was telling me about all the earthquakes, and we'd be sitting there on the phone, she would feel them, and I would go and check on the Met Office to see how big the earthquake had been. So that was kind of my first experience of all of this. But to be able to do that, to be able to kind of monitor the entire country, I mean, there must be a really significant number of these seismometers scattered around all over the place. I mean, how many stations do you have roughly?
Not enough, if you ask me. Never enough. But we have 100 seismometers, and most of them are owned by the Met Office. But since there's been so much interest on the Reykjanes, we've also been kind of utilizing other networks. So, for example, Cambridge University is operating seismometers, and we are allowed to access their data.
Yeah.
We also have. It's a bit interesting that the Czech Academy is also operating a seismic network, and has been doing so for many years, because they found kind of the earthquake swarm, like when you have a lot of small earthquakes within a short period of time. They found like similar activity to happen every now and then in the Czech Republic. So they wanted to come to Iceland to kind of see if there was a similarity. So they have actually been operating a network on Reykjanes Peninsula for many years.
So way before everything happened?
Even
or
way
started,
before everything started. So
okay.
we've also been accessing their data. We have more groups that are operating seismic networks on Reykjanes, and we try to kind of also share our data and collaborate.
So is the distribution of these, is it disproportionately centered around Reykjanes just because it's where the population is? Or is it kind of...
Yeah, so currently we have the densest network is on Reykjanes. Also because we are accessing the other networks, like I say. But in general, the seismic network is distributed where the plate boundary is. So it's like Reykjanes, and then you have the South Iceland seismic zone. Then you have like the volcanoes, Katla and Eyjafjallajökull, and then the eastern volcanic zone where you have Laki. And then, of course, you have the most hazardous volcanoes are probably the ones hidden underneath Vatnajökull.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's quite a tricky place to monitor because you
There's
need to
a great big
find...
sheet of ice covering everything.
No,
so...
exactly. And like ice...
And that's not like static.
No, that's the thing. So not many people can realize how the glacier is. It's almost like thick yogurt because it's like moving all the time. So it's impossible to stick a sensor in there because it's going to stay. It's just going to disappear.
Yeah.
And this has happened.
Oops.
So we basically what we do is to find places we call nunataks, which are kind of bedrocks.
Yeah. Like
places,
mountain ridges that sort of...
mountain ridges that stick out of the glacier.
Kind of anchor points, basically,
yes. And this is where we have our, like, these are often quite difficult places to access, as you can imagine.
And that might not necessarily even be the best place for it. It's just...
It's the only place.
The only place, yeah.
And then maybe there are like tens of kilometers to the next one.
Yeah.
Which is not very good because we like to have maybe 10 kilometers between the stations or so. And then we move on, like north of Vatnajökull, you have Askja volcano. There we also have quite a dense network, and Mývatn. And then you come to the North Iceland where we have also like a seismic zone, a transform zone where we can have magnitudes up to 7.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time since the last earthquake in North Iceland, about 150 years. And this is also a place where, we are kind of expecting an earthquake to happen.
Because tension has built up.
Through these 150 years. Yeah.
Wow.
And then, I mean... we also have some seismometers on islands. So we have a couple of seismometers in Tasman Islands. There's recently one in Eldey. I think we go back maybe 5 years. And then in Grímsey. And then it becomes quite difficult, like for anything that's happening kind of outside Iceland, it becomes difficult to kind of constrain the location, etc. But like on top of the seismometers are the instruments that measure vibrations, and we use them to record earthquakes. We also are using GPS, which is basically the same technique as we have in our phones, just to find the location. So it's quite accurate. So you have like you're measuring kind of a single point on the ground in the bedrock and just seeing how it is moving relative to
another point.
To another point, exactly. So what we see with the GPS is just how the plates are moving away from each other. And we're seeing also if a volcano is inflating, deflating. So this is more like the long-term monitoring.
Yeah.
Then we use a technique called INSAR, which is satellites, you know.
Oh, I've been paying attention to just a tag.
And so these satellites, they are about 700 kilometers altitude. And they give us a really good spatial coverage of any deformation, like any bulging that's happening or any deflation, or and also when the plates are moving away from each other, we see this, and also if we have a significant earthquake, we can see this pattern in the INSAR data. So that has proven very helpful for us, especially to assess magma accumulation on the Reykjanes Peninsula.
When did that start? The ISAR?
Oh, the INSAR. It's
the
quite,
INSAR, sorry,
yeah. The INSAR technique is not so old. I would like to say maybe 20 years, something like that. Yeah.
So going back to the earthquakes for a minute here. I mean, in Iceland, we get dozens, even possibly hundreds of earthquakes every single day, depending on the day. Are they all the same, or are there differences between the types of earthquakes?
Yeah. So there are differences between the types of earthquakes, and also so just how earthquakes are naturally is that you have very few large earthquakes, but you have a lot more small earthquakes. So kind of what we see just generally all around the planet is that we have about 10 times more for every magnitude we go down. So let's say for every earthquake of magnitude 3, we have 10 earthquakes of magnitude 2. We have 100 of magnitude 1. And 1,000 of magnitude 0, etc. So that's one thing. We see a lot of small earthquakes. And because we have a lot of small earthquakes, they also show us where there is unrest. So we like to kind of tune our system towards kind of looking at the small. So it's like having a high definition image to kind of look at the small earthquakes. So that's why we're a little bit obsessed with the small earthquakes. But you were asking about the classification of events, and that can be quite tricky. And we see definitely like differences between different areas. So like I was saying in Katla, we see these low frequency events in the western part of Katla. And we believe now that the reason they are so low frequent is because there's a big rotational landslide. So there's this huge landslide that's just slowly creeping.
Okay.
And because of this kind of slow onset of the earthquake, the waves are also quite slow. So as opposed to brittle earthquakes where you have like much higher frequency.
And you've got, of course, there's the difference between the earthquakes that are coming from the tectonic movements, the actual plate movements, plus you've got the ones that are coming from actual kind of movement of magma under the surface. How do you tell those apart?
Yeah, it can be very difficult. So there are two things that mainly affect the waveform, or like just how the wiggles, what they look like. And that is the source itself. So kind of what happens where the earthquake is happening. So is it a slow source? And a slow source means a lower frequency. Also, like, is it an explosive source? Is it just one fault moving next to each other? Is the fault somehow not straight but bending? Like, it's all kinds of things that really matter here. So that's one thing, the source. And the second thing that's affecting the wiggles is the path. So maybe you have like quite a normal earthquake, but then something happens on the way while the wiggles are traveling to the monitoring station. So maybe the wiggles need to go through magma, or they need to go to a really crevassed area.
And they're not going to travel through that the same as they're going to travel through the solid ground.
No, exactly. Yeah. So, and this is going to affect the waveform. So, and it can be quite tricky.
Is this that whole thing of, was it P waves and S waves?
Yeah. So
question mark?
Primary and secondary, yes. Very good. Yes. So the P waves are the pressure waves that they come first. And then the S waves are the shear waves. They travel and they are slower. So, it's a little bit, and the location, kind of the problem of locating an earthquake, it's actually quite similar to, like, everybody knows how to locate a lightning. You see a lightning and like it's over there, but you don't know the distance until you hear the thunder, right?
So you're extrapolating from the amount of time before you hear the thunderclap.
Yeah. So really, it's the same kind of. You're seeing the light, And then you start counting, and then you see the second wave, which is the sound wave. So it's really, in a way, it's quite similar.
Okay.
And then, we have, in terms of earthquakes, then we also have like these tremors that you talked about in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then also there's been this phenomena talked about quite a lot lately, which is sometimes referred to as trigger earthquakes.
Yeah.
Could you explain for us a little bit what we're talking about here, like these concepts?
Yeah. So we use the terminology triggered earthquakes for this situation in 2021, where we knew that magma was intruding into the crust, but we had seismicity that was like spread
over a much wider,
tens of kilometers away from the area where we knew that the magma was intruding. Yeah. So we referred to those earthquakes, these large-scale earthquakes that were happening far away, as triggered earthquakes, because every earthquake is triggered by stress changes.
Yeah.
So, but we just wanted to kind of have a name for these earthquakes because people were scared that there was also magma far away.
Yeah, right.
So we were just trying to explain to people like, no, they are triggered by these events because
the same source, basically.
The magma is intruding in Fagradalsfjall, but because of this, it's having a huge effect on a large area. And we have like faults that are almost ready to go off. So they just need a little push and then bam.
Yeah.
So this is what happened.
And then tremors?
Tremors.
Like, what's just in terms of everyone who's listening, how would you define tremor?
Yeah. So tremor signals are, instead of like an earthquake, which is a fault that just goes off and you have the P wave and the S wave and then it's gone. Tremors are sustained. Okay. So you see like a continuous vibration. And the reason why we have continuous vibration can be so different. So we can have many sources, both anthropogenic, so man-made sources, or natural sources. And volcanic eruptions, they while they are ongoing, we have sustained tremor. So this is what we call the volcanic eruption tremor. We sometimes see tremors maybe extended over a couple of minutes, sometimes tens of minutes before an eruption. We see tremors when we have big floods. Yeah. We see tremors. Sometimes there are man-made tremors because of pumping down of water, like in the geothermal areas where they are
power plants.
Yeah, in the power plants where they're pumping down water. This can also cause sustained tremors for a few minutes. Then, like major landslides, we often refer to them as tremors because they can take quite a long time and. Yeah, so there can be many different sources of tremors, even not from the earth, but from the atmosphere. So something happens in the atmosphere. For example, there's a meteorite that is split into many smaller bits. You can have like tremors. There's some shaking. There's some there's like a sonic boom sometimes if it's big enough, and because it's being shattered in the atmosphere, you get like many sonic booms. So this can vibrate the earth, and you can measure tremors.
Never even considered that as an option. There you go.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah.
So let's take, for example, something that happened here quite recently. We had just at the time of recording, it was about a couple of weeks ago, we had a pretty massive swarm of earthquakes at Elde off the coast here.
Yeah.
And I know we were, we're always kind of glued to all of the kind of data that's coming in here anyway. And we saw that kind of big swarm. It's like, whoa, what is happening here?
Yeah.
So how do you assess based on what you're seeing in a situation like that when you've got a really big cluster of earthquakes, whether it's something to actually be concerned about or is it just something, like we said, that's being triggered from elsewhere?
Yeah. So here, the really important thing when you see something like that is to look at other data. So one of the first things we do is to look at deformation data. Like, are we seeing any indications of any like bulging or anything like, anything kind of piling up underneath the crust, any huge deformation,
Any signs of magma?
And like usually like when you have magma coming into the crust to 5 kilometers depth or so, you start to see some bulging at the surface. But Eldey is an island, and we don't have any sensors at the bottom of the ocean. But we have a sensor in Eldey.
Okay.
And it has been there for long enough, so we know kind of what is the reference.
Kind of baseline.
The baseline,
Yeah.
exactly. And we could just see when this series started, when the swarm started, nothing was happening in Eldey.
Okay.
So it was quite unlikely that it was something like, maybe it's something very deep, so it's not being, detected in Eldey. But if you look at the location, I mean, it's definitely nothing big and nothing shallow, because it should show up on Eldey if it was there. And that's why we were confident in saying, like, we don't see anything. And the thing is that these swarms, they are quite, these earthquake swarms, they are so frequent on the ridge.
They happen quite frequently.
Yeah, we see them all the time. Like every month there is something, but it's been a long time since the last eruption. But it is quite tricky not having deformation data offshore, because also one of the like a major threat is if we will have an eruption close to Eldey, we will have ash, because like when the magma comes into contact with the ocean, and if
You get
like
steam explosions,
if the eruption is big enough and it makes it through the ocean, you have steam explosions, you have like ash in the atmosphere, and it's quite close to the airport.
Yeah.
And this is no good.
So it could be like a somewhat similar situation as when Surtsey emerged from the ocean, but just closer to areas that are like heavily inhabited and even in heavy use, like the airport.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
So recently, the whole seismic monitoring system has been given a refresh.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the new system that's in place?
Yeah.
How long was the old one in place for?
So it was developed. It was developed late in the 80s, and it was
a while.
Yeah, a while. So it was So it was in place for since. Well, we can say like we have reliable catalog data since 1990 June. So from that time onwards, we have quite reliable catalog data in Iceland. Before that, we only have kind of the big earthquakes, but smaller earthquakes we really started to see in 1990. And we have like continuous recordings since then. So the new system is a system it's really the most widely used acquisition system, we call it, for handling seismic data. It's called SeisComp. And the beauty with this system is that it's modular, it's modern, it's so much easier to just deal with and to operate, and the possibilities are endless, really, to kind of plug in new things. Now everything is about AI and new developments there. So it's really kind of bringing us to a future setting, let's say. So the user should not be able really to see any changes. But for us that are kind of there at the office, looking at the data, it's
Is it more
it's really
sensitive? Is it picking up more stuff than before?
in some areas it seems to be more sensitive.
Okay.
In others it's similar. And the thing is that now we also have the tools to continue tuning it. So I expect us to get better and better at tuning it and being, so the system should get more sensitive, meaning that we'll be seeing smaller and smaller earthquakes, meaning that we will also be able to, be more robust in kind of classifying the different events, etc. So it's just kind of giving us quite a good tool set to work with the data.
I mean, you mentioned AI, you mentioned, technology in that sense and modernizing it. And I mean, one of the most common questions that we get, and I'm sure you get as well, is like, when will the next eruption happen? And like, the answer is always like, well, it's impossible to name exactly when. You can have like a sort of a best guess.
Yes.
Maybe somewhere in this time frame, but or somewhere in this region, but you never exactly pinpoint when it starts or when it stops. So in terms of predictions, does this tool in any way help you sort of make those educated guesses?
No, not really. not this tool, but
it's more about talking about what's happening right now than it is about kind of.
So I mean, for understanding like when the next eruption will be on Reykjanes, what we use is the deformation data, and we use both the GPS data and the INSAR data. And my genius colleagues at IMO, they use like both data set and apply a technique to calculate a model. And the model is showing us, so they are like making like multiple different models. Like, okay, is the magma chamber, is it flat like that? Is it like a sphere? Like what does best fit the data? And then like what we repeatedly see is that the magma between the eruptions, the volume of the magma is at about 3 to 4 kilometers depth. It looks like, we call it a sill, so it's almost like a sheet or a pillow, really, that's kind of building up and growing in size and in volume. And we see, because these are repeated events, and we see that the kind of the threshold for the volume is around 22 to 23 million cubic meters. And currently we are at 22.
Hey.
All the way up there.
So what has happened now in between the eruptions is that it's taking longer and longer time to fill up the chamber to these 22, 23.
Because the influx of magma is slower? Or?
Probably because the influx of magma is slower, yes. This is what the data seems to suggest. And so we're kind of there. It's like blowing up a balloon, but just slower and slower. And you don't know when it's going to pop.
Yeah.
So the rate seems to be very slow now. But I mean, it is going to pop.
Yeah.
So there is going to be an eruption. But
or at least an intrusion.
If it's going to happen like now, or in few weeks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you actually estimate? I mean, you're talking about the actual volume of magma that's under the surface. Obviously, we can't see that. And we're talking about deformation. So that's just the bulging as that comes in there. But what's actually telling you the volume that's down there? Like what?
How do you know that there's 22 million cubic meters?
So these are these genius models that my colleagues are using. So that you really have to kind of understand a little bit how the crust is made of, and you have to put in all kinds of parameters that are kind of best guess parameters about how the crust, how it works, also just and how it responds to magma being kind of stuck there and being kind of filling up this
So I guess
this chamber.
the height that it's raising up by and the diameter of the
area.
raising
Yes.
is kind of playing into that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the data we have. The only data we have is just the surface deformation. So just kind of the bulging of the surface. And then we kind of, we need to go down and just see, what does this mean in terms of volume of magma, and what actually fits the data best. And what we find, what my colleagues find, is that, it's like a pillow beneath Svartsengi at about 3 to 4 kilometers depth. And it's filling up and then emptying, during the eruptions, of course, like it sinks. Yeah.
Now, do all the volcanic systems in Iceland, do they all demonstrate that kind of uplift behavior, or are there some that you just don't get that kind of clue about how close they are to erupting? Are some of them deep down enough, these magma chambers, that you're not actually going to see that uplift at the surface?
Yeah, it was quite tricky, for example, with Fagradalsfjall, because the magma came from 17 kilometers depth and just kind of straight into this rift. So we could see on the faraway stations that there was something like slight, but it was very difficult to interpret. And also because like Reykjanes is limited, it would have been nice to have kind of stations, more islands, so we could put more stations.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of limiting just to have, this small peninsula for stations.
The physical geography of the thing is limiting your ability to actually see.
Yeah.
I mean, there is this saying, I don't know how true it is, but there is this saying that we know more about the surface of the moon than the bottoms of the ocean, let alone what's happening like below the surface of the earth, And this is a relatively new field. I mean, you're talking about like this, the old earthquake system, the old seismic monitoring system being, from the 1990s.
Yeah.
I mean, may sound very long time for some, but in reality, it's not that long from like Earth standards. I mean, it's like a second or something.
Yeah.
In Earth time. Yeah, but I'm also really curious. Maybe if I can switch gears a little bit, because one of the things talking about the eruptions that are happening have been taking place on the Reykjanes Peninsula. And I mean, I assume that, the civil defense and all the sort of authorities that are responsible for public safety rely a lot on the data that you provide.
Yeah, exactly.
And just, first of all, communicating that to the authorities and then to the general public and then to the media. This must be quite a difficult sort of thing to navigate and do it in a way that sort of doesn't trigger panic or something like that. How can you tell us maybe a little bit about how you've been working with the authorities in terms of communicating what is going on?
So the Met Office has this legal responsibility of providing warnings. And our main stakeholder is the civil protection, because the civil protection will then make decisions about evacuations, about closing of roads, etc. So it's always the first thing we do when we suspect something is escalating is to contact the civil protection, because it's really important that they, get heads up and have the possibility to evacuate, for example. The civil protection is organized by the police department. So it's really the police that will then go into the field and take action. Another important stakeholder to us is the aviation. I mentioned earlier. And but they, like with the aviation, they can take decisions very quickly, and so it takes them only about 6 or 7 minutes to divert the airplanes. so they can respond quite quickly. But it's important for the civil protection to get heads up, so they have the possibility of kind of getting police to the areas and making decisions. But so in a way, it's an easy job for us too, because we are just kind of looking at the Earth and trying to understand what's happening with the Earth. And so we don't need to think about like who is living in that house or where does this road lead to, or is there maybe a tourist hiking up that hill or whatnot. I would say, like, to me, that's a more difficult task, really.
So really what you're doing is you're saying, this is happening, it's over to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, this is what the data is telling us.
Yes.
You do
This is what the Earth is doing.
Yeah.
This is what the Earth is doing. That is our job.
That's got to be quite tricky. Like when it comes to when something is starting, and you've got to make that call of like, when do we actually inform civil defense? Hey, this is it. This is not a practice. We're how do you actually make that call? When do you know? Like, at what point do you know, okay, this is actually happening now?
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. So we have like different thresholds for different kinds of data. And we have, we rely on the earthquakes, for example. So we have like set up automatic routines that will provide warnings in terms of like flashing in the monitoring rooms, in terms of audio warnings in the monitoring rooms.
Oh, wow, I'm having visions of this kind of.
So for different kinds of data. So for example, for the earthquake data, if you have enough seismicity within a certain time window, within a certain area, you have a specific warning. So depending on like how much seismicity there is, you have like different levels of warnings.
And is this automated? Like this is automated into the systems?
This is automated into the system, but we have people working around the clock at the Met Office who then take the warnings and they take up the phone and make the call, right? So on top of that, we are using warnings also from the boreholes in Svartsengi. So now I'm just talking about Svartsengi and what's happening on the Reykjanes Peninsula.
Yeah, because conveniently you have got the geothermal plant right there.
Yeah.
Or maybe not conveniently.
Not a coincidence either.
Yeah, no.
Because, I mean, that's the thing, living with volcanoes, right? So, I mean, there are pros and cons.
Yeah. They're there because there is volcanic activity in the region.
So that's why we have all the energy and the heat. So. So there are boreholes there, and there are pressure sensors in some of the boreholes that repeatedly have shown us like major changes before when the magma is on the move. So we know.
Will they tell you that before you've seen it on the seismometers, maybe? So
usually the seismometers are first, and then this comes quite close. Close in time. And the third thing is, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
Is the fiber optic.
Yes, this is where DAS. All right, here we go. I was going to ask you about it anyway if you didn't get to it naturally, and you did. So tell us about this.
Yeah, because this is the first time, as I know, in the world where we actually have an operating early warning system based on fiber optic cables, and these are basically the commercial fibers that go into the
it's
the homes,
people's internet.
No, exactly. So so this technique is very new and
distributed acoustic sensing.
Yeah, that's what it stands for. It's called the DAS, this technology, and what it does is that like we have this. This instrument, it just looks like a black box, like a huge computer, and there is a laser that's attached to it, and the laser will send a beam into just one fiber, and listen. So it sends out the light, and then it's listening to the backscatter. And if there is any movement on the fiber, if there's any stretching or if there's any kind of compression on the fiber, we can record that with a lot of detail.
Mm-hmm.
So the fiber,
and you could see it like on the readouts. You could see the kind of noise that's coming back from that.
we see a lot of things.
Yeah, we see traffic movement.
We
on
see
it.
traffic.
Yeah.
And we were once, we say, interrogating a fiber. So that's the terminology.
Tell us what you know.
Exactly. So there was a fiber there is a fiber that goes from Fagradalsfjall, from the parking lot and up on Langihryggur, where people were walking, and we could see people walking.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And you can even, because like it's a time series, so you can see kind of the speed of people walking.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. But what is it like when magma starts moving in the crust?
Yeah.
What do you see in this fiber? What is the signal that comes off that you sense that there's definitely something taking place now?
Yeah, getting me back to the the question.
Yeah.
So there's, you can think of Sundhúsgígurinn, where we have the repeated eruption. It's like a rift, and every time you have magma coming into that, it's kind of the end of the pillow that's pressing up. The magma is coming kind of at this end of the pillow, and then the magma is moving upwards. And as it does so, the rift will open a little bit, and just when it starts. When the magma starts to come into the rift, there is stretching that's happening, because the fiber the cable, the fiber cable is crossing Grindavik. And we see these changes because of this deformation.
Slight stretching of the cable.
This minor stretch, even when it's happening at several kilometers depth, there is a slight deformation on the surface.
I mean, if you can see how fast people are walking.
We are talking about nanometers. Like, it's so small.
And in the sequence of these things, I mean, you mentioned already that the earthquakes sort of come first, and then it's the boreholes they give almost immediately after, like some signals. Yeah. What about the
fiber optic?
The fiber optic.
So the fiber optic data is usually second.
Okay.
And then the borehole data, like they're
sort of like bum, bum, bum.
Yeah. But the story doesn't end here.
Oh.
Because what we have now is even a model. So like the model that we have of the volume of magma kind of in between eruptions, what we get now is an automated model every 5 minutes that's showing us how the magma is moving along the rift. I'm not kidding you.
That's wild.
It is wild.
So now I understand your excitement earlier when you were like, I cannot wait to talk about this.
And so we got this for the first time in the last eruption in July. And we could see how the magma was coming from depth, and it was moving towards the north. So, and I don't know if you remember this, like when the eruption started, it continued to move.
It continued pushing
to the north.
And
we saw this with
it's like
before the eruption, like
the earth unzipping, sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And we could even with the deformation data, we could predict the timing of the eruption and the location.
Bam.
With how much
certainty?
Notice?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different between eruptions. Sometimes the warnings have been like, the shortest we have is 40 minutes. I think in July it was about roughly 3 hours, maybe. Yeah, maybe even a little bit more. So it depends a little bit how fast the magma is kind of being emplaced in the rift. But definitely really exciting to be able to use the fiber optic cable as like a live GPS and being able to have this live inversions of I'm getting the dike emplacement kind of.
Yeah. And the beauty of this is that's just using existing infrastructure.
That's the thing, yeah.
So you could, in theory, this could be anywhere where you've got fiber optics and they're all over the place now.
Yeah.
You could just whack another one of these boxes in place and
because also,
go.
like in if you look at the world, like the entire world, we have a lot of people who live quite close to volcanic systems. It's not just in Iceland. A lot of people are living in close proximity to where there's like potential volcanic eruptions.
No, exactly. And it's not only good for volcanic eruptions, it's also, you can see earthquakes and the fiber optic data.
Mm-hmm.
You can even see snow avalanches and landslides. So it kind of in general for natural hazard monitoring.
Right.
It's a revolution.
Yeah. So is this going to be rolled out throughout the whole country, or is it already? Or is it just purely at the moment around Reykjanes?
So the thing is that this box, it costs a little bit more.
I was going to say cost is probably a factor here, yeah.
Yes. So, it costs like a really nice Jeep.
Okay.
So, and for us, that's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So it costs maybe, it costs around 40 million, something like that, Icelandic kroner. So, and one seismic station is maybe 4 or 5 million. So, yeah.
It's a trade-off a little bit.
It is a trade-off. And like I say, like we got this up and running in January 2025. So it's only a year now.
The old technology itself has only really existed for a couple of years.
Yeah. And like I say, I believe this is the first time where it's being operational in volcano monitoring. And
in the world?
In the world.
Yeah.
And I'm
so cool.
actually going to Pasadena, April, to
talk about this.
Ah,
that's very cool.
Right to talk.
But I mean, I see a lot of potential for this being used like basically anywhere in the world where there's potential natural hazards that you could monitor.
We have fiber optic cables everywhere, and we have fiber optic cables also crossing the oceans.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a new one. That's really a game changer.
Okay, interesting.
So,
yeah. But I mean, I guess you would need, like, you would not be putting down, I mean, that would be a big undertaking to put down fiber cables just specifically for this purpose. It would be best used, where the infrastructure already exists.
Yeah, we can do both. I've also been involved in a couple of projects where we have used our own fiber. So, for example, on the glacier, which was a lot of fun because it's So we built. My colleagues built like a snow plow to plow down the fiber. Mm-hmm. And we did this in the middle of Vatnajökull Glacier, where you have Grímsvötn, Grímsvötn volcano. So it was an investigation of the volcano, but also of the glacier. We have a lot of publications, a lot of stuff came out of that
very cool
experiment. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's one of the things that I also like about, like, for instance, just the website of the Met Office.
Mm-hmm.
So full of data. Mm-hmm. And it's basically made accessible for anyone who's interested. So I really think that's just also for the like, not necessarily people who work in the field, but who are just massive nerds and interested.
Yeah, I'm forever pointing people, coming to shows here at the Lava Show, and forever pointing people towards the Met Office website.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
The ones that are really interested, that's exactly the stuff that they want to know. Yeah. And it's just a wealth of information.
Yes, and you can dig deeper and deeper. And then, you're also pointing to other places that are also collecting data. So it's like great.
Thank you. We're also working on our website, so we're trying to improve it also, modernize it. But we're at the same time as we were upgrading the seismic system, we released an interactive website. I don't know if you saw that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Skjálftalýsa.
Skjálftalýsa, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there you can do a lot of playing around. It's in Icelandic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But we can still put the link into the notes.
Yeah, we'll put the link in our show notes and people can check it out. Yeah. And of course, you can do you can have the website actually translate it kind of for you as well.
Yeah. Oh, great.
So we're going to have to kind of try and wrap things up a little bit because we could keep on going, I think, for days
I think so.
One thing that really interested me, though, so, I mean, we've been talking a lot about Reykjanes and what's been going on here, but there are other places of interest around.
Sure.
One in particular that I'm thinking of is Ljósafjall.
Yeah.
So do we have kind of blind spots at the moment in the data? Or, places like that maybe we need to know more about that we don't quite have the amount of data that we'd like to yet?
I would not go as far as saying we have blind spots because we know we can record earthquakes of magnitude 1 all around the country with the current network. But of course, like I say, we would like to have more sensors always. I mean, it was really interesting when Grjótárvatn, because we haven't had any activity there for such a long time. And we know very little also of that system. So it hasn't been, also in terms of geology, there's very...
It's not been on anybody's radar.
No, not really. So we are working on that, and my group is working on that and doing like estimating the hazards, understanding like if we will have a lava flow there, what will it look like? And to be able to know that, we need to also understand what are how do the current lavas look like? Are these like thick lavas? Are they how do they behave? So it's like the key to the future is always looking at the past.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work ongoing there. We are not seeing any deformation. So, but I mean, what we think is most likely is that there is magma accumulation at 15 kilometers depth or even more
so
happening
quite deep.
there. So very deep. So, and we haven't
And then so
seen... Sure. But in Fagradalsfjall, we have this, it's in an extensional regime. So we know the plates are moving away from each other there. There's nothing such happening. It doesn't mean that it's impossible to have an eruption there, but definitely it's going to be more difficult for the magma
the likelihood.
The crust isn't as fragmented. Isn't that one part of it?
Yes, and you don't have, the plates are not moving apart in that region. So you don't have, it's going to be more difficult for the magma to find its way up. But
it's not as easy access.
No.
Yeah.
But I mean, there have been eruptions there in modern times. And when I say modern times, I mean in the past 10,000 years. So we know it can happen. We are taking it seriously, and our staff has been meeting with the locals there and talking with also the Civil Protection Committee in the area, etc. And we've also installed more instruments in the area to monitor it better. So we're taking it quite seriously, I would say. But like I say, seismicity is still at this depth, around 15 kilometers depth. And we are not seeing any indications of any bulging or any yet.
But I mean, there are other volcanic systems that I would say we've sort of been waiting on now for quite a while. I mean, just to name a few: Katla, Askja,
Grímsvötn.
I mean, like for a long while, it used to erupt sort of every 10 years, and the last one was in 2011.
Yeah.
So, it's like how do you, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, okay. So it's interesting with Grímsvötn because they are quite close to Bárðarbunga. These are sister volcanoes, I would say. And it seems like the last eruption in Bárðarbunga probably affected Grímsvötn.
So the one in 2014 that we call Holuhraun.
Yeah, the 2014, 2015, so it went on for 6 months. And we are seeing quite high inflation rates in Bárðarbunga. So we know that Bárðarbunga is definitely preparing itself, and we are seeing large earthquakes because there's really dramatic inflation happening there. But it seems like the inflation in Grímsvötn is slowing down. There's not much happening there right now. What were we talking about? Askja. Also, the inflation there is slowing down. So,
but I mean, a couple of years ago, it sounded very much like, based on the information and data, like it was sort of close to bursting, and then
Well, we knew that just while we have magma accumulation at shallow depth, you're always, you need to be cautious and prepared. But currently, the inflation has decreased significantly there. With Katla, this is also one of the volcanoes that's very tricky to monitor because there are so few places for stations.
Yeah.
So, and the ice cover is preventing INSAR to work.
Okay,
So I didn't mention this earlier. So the INSAR, because it really needs a picture of the ground.
The surface, the actual ground surface.
Yes, because otherwise you're just comparing white to white.
Yeah.
So you don't get like, even if there was some bulging, like you wouldn't be able to see it.
Yeah.
So then you need GPS stations, and there are very few places on Katla to actually put those stations up. But I mean, definitely nothing major happening there. But I mean, just in general in Iceland, there is quite a fast retreat of the glaciers. So because of global warming, the glaciers are retreating. And what happens first is that like the outlet glaciers, like these tongues that stick out of the glaciers, they are shrinking. And then later you will see the kind of the top,
the main ice cap.
The main ice cap starts to also to disappear. And what we so one of the projects my colleagues are working on is research to understand what this does to the underlying volcanoes.
Yeah.
And
I get asked about this quite a lot.
Yes.
What impact is the retreating ice going to have on frequency of eruptions, and does it impact things? And
absolutely,
it looks like it could.
Yes, and it will, and we know this. So there are several publications out there which support this, that we will have induced magma production, meaning more frequent eruptions, and especially they're in the highlands, and those are the volcanoes that are capable of producing ash plumes and affecting aviation and all the rest.
Mind you, if there's less ice, then it's going to reduce that to an extent.
Yes, but I mean, we still have like the ice is up to 1 kilometer thick in Vatnajökull. It's a lot of ice, and the same goes for Mýrdalsjökull. So
even if there's a reduction in volume, there's still enormous amounts of it, so you're still going to get the...
Then also, like many of these volcanoes or volcanic systems, like it's central volcanoes with like big magma chambers, you know, that can collect magma for quite a bit of time, and it can sort of sour. I don't know if that's the right term.
So you can have like...
maturing.
No, exactly. So you can have even ash-rich eruptions without the interaction of ice. Yeah, if you see what I mean.
Because you're going to get higher silica content lava.
Exactly.
Yeah. We are the lava show. We do try to know our stuff, at least to some extent. No, but it's super interesting. I think, like Iain said earlier, you know, we could keep you here all day.
Yeah, we could.
Asking you forever, but it's so interesting.
Yeah, great talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you very much indeed for giving us your time.
Of course.
We really appreciate that.
Super interesting to see all these developments that have been going on, and to kind of see what will be going on, like as things kind of, the technology's changing and new things coming in. Be fascinating to see how that affects things in the coming years. But yeah, thank you so much, Kristín, for coming in.
Thank you.
Fun to talk with you.
It was a pleasure. So much fun.
Okay, that was quite the interview that time. Fantastic stuff.
So full of information.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing to just hear like all the things that are happening behind the scenes, you know, what with the merging of the data and creating these models.
Yeah. The bit that jumped out at me was that when she was describing kind of the kind of situation room that they have.
Yeah.
was almost cinematic. You can actually, you can imagine, sitting there, and then suddenly something starts going off, and then something else going off, and then the scramble of activity.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
wow. So really fantastic insights
Yeah,
into
for
what
sure.
goes on there. And like we were saying, we could probably have kept on going for twice as long again.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
But,
the list of questions that we were not able to go through was a tad long, but, it was just that good.
yeah. So you never know, might be able to coax her into coming back at some point.
knows?
And we're definitely going to be trying to get some other folks from the Icelandic Met Office to come and speak to us, hopefully very soon.
Yes.
So stay tuned for more of that. But in the meantime, hope you really enjoyed this episode. And the usual things apply. If you want to get hold of us, you can just email us at podcast@lavashow.com. And in terms of all the other social stuff,
Yeah, I mean, we are basically on all the typical social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it. So, in most places you can find us at Lava Show Iceland.
excellent. All right, well, spread the word.
Please.
If you enjoyed the show, and even if you didn't.
Yeah, still spread the word.
But yeah, tell your friends, anybody who might be interested in finding out more about volcanoes, that this is the place to find out.
Yeah.
And we hope you all enjoyed it, and that you will subscribe and all of those good things. And if you do subscribe, we'll hopefully see you here next time. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you. Goodbye, fellow science nerds.